Again, once again, it looks like that Russia is trying to change the main goal of this special military operation. What do they want this time? Why are they always changing the goals? Does this mean that they will engage even more countries now, or this is once again them just bluffing? And these are the questions that we'll be talking about in today's video. What's up, investors, Simon Chacha and people of Reddit, it's the Russian Dude and this is your daily update on Russian-Ukrainian war as of Friday, May 13th. Happy Friday, everyone! You can see the main events of the day to my right, along with the timestamps. I just can't believe it anymore, but it looks like that once again, the main goal of Russia in this war has been changed. Today, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, said that Ukraine joining the European Union does not seem safe to Russia at all, which is then also confirmed by the director of the Foreign Intelligence Service of Russia, Sergei Naryshkin. What he said is that these alleged Ukrainian neo-Nazis are not just a threat to Russia, but to an entire Europe. He basically implied that as soon as Ukraine joins the European Union, they will start spreading these ideologies of Nazism across different European countries. And I mean, just yesterday we were talking about Finland and Sweden joining NATO, and Russia will be considering them as legitimate military targets. So my next question is the new goal of Russia to denazify entire Europe? I mean, Russia is struggling with Ukraine alone. How are they thinking about doing this with entire Europe? And if you remember, the original goal of Russia was to stop the expansion of NATO, which they kinda failed by Finland and Sweden joining the alliance. The next goal was to stop Ukrainian Nazis, and now Ukraine is joining the European Union, which means that Ukrainian Nazis will just spread across entire Europe. Don't know about you, but looks like this goal will fail as well. These are just two main goals, but I think you already understand that there are just dozens of them at this point. Which makes me think that at this point Russia is just simply bluffing. But then this Russian government official Oleg Morozov said that because of the statements and actions that Poland makes against Russia, probably this is our next target for denazification. Don't know about you, but it looks like that the word of the year in Russia will be to denazify. Somebody took your parking spot, denazify him. A professor made you fail his class, denazify him as well. Somebody owes you money, you get the idea. And by the way, if you like this style of daily news reporting, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please make sure to check the link in the description if you wish to receive additional content and support Ukraine with us. Thank you so much, and let's continue. Welcome to another episode of Ridiculous Russian Propaganda, and today we have this Vasily Nebezia, who is the representative of Russia in the United Nations. And he says that Russia had all the evidence in the world which said that Ukraine has these several camps across entire territory of the country where they were preparing Ukrainian kids aged between 7 and 18 to become terrorists. And I have no idea how people around him were listening to this with just straight faces. I wouldn't be surprised if he also said that these terrorist kids were prepared and taught by Americans. Yesterday, America approved $40 billion support package to Ukraine, and at this very moment this bill is waiting to be signed by Joe Biden. But today, the senator from Kentucky, Rand Paul, said that he is not happy with this support package. What he said is that he gave an oath to America and not any other country, so that sending this much money to Ukraine will bankrupt the United States. But he also explained is that he does not want to cancel this entire support package. All he wants is some kind of an inspector who will track how this money will be spent. After meeting with the President Zelensky, the leaders of G7 countries are discussing issuing additional 30 billion euros to support Ukraine. At this very moment, financial and military support is the best kind of support Ukraine can receive from Western countries. And just as a reminder, at the beginning of this week, President Biden signed the Lend-Lease Act to support Ukraine, which basically means that America will be able to send weapons to Ukraine much faster and much cheaper. And later this week, America also approved the support package worth almost $40 billion to support Ukraine. And now we have G7 countries also thinking about providing 30 billion euros additionally to Ukraine. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, said that for as long as the Russian president is Vladimir Putin, the relations between Russia and Western countries will never be recovered. Boris Johnson also added that Putin crossed all the possible lines by invading Ukraine. And he said that this will be an eternal lesson for Western countries because they did not react enough when Russia annexed Crimea back in 2014. He said if Western countries pushed Russia strong enough back in 2014, probably whatever is happening right now would never happen. But because the sanctions were pretty light, Russia felt like it can get away with anything. Not for the first time, President of Ukraine Vladimir Zelensky said that he is ready to meet and talk with Vladimir Putin face to face. In response to that, the press secretary of Russia Dmitry Peskov said that at this very moment these talks are impossible. What he meant is that yes, Vladimir Putin is ready to talk with Zelensky at any time, it is just that there is nothing to discuss yet. Peskov also added that both countries need to come up with some kind of document where a list of agreements must be presented, so that during the personal meeting between Putin and Zelensky they will have something to talk about. So the position of Ukraine is basically, let's start talking as soon as possible, we are ready every single day because we need to end this war. But the position of Russia is like, yeah, we are ready to talk with you any single day you want, it is just that we don't know what to talk about yet. Today the very first Russian soldier was prosecuted as a military criminal of this war. The guy is a 21-year-old Vadim Shishimarin and he is accused of killing a civilian in Sumy region. And in case his guilt is proven, he is facing at least 10-15 years in jail or maybe even a lifetime in jail. The Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, Irina Vereshchuk, said that Ukrainian forces started this special operation of rescuing injured soldiers from Azovstal factory. Just as a reminder, Azovstal, which is located in the city of Mariupol, is one of the hottest locations in Ukraine at this very moment. It is estimated that approximately 90% of city's infrastructure is completely destroyed. And the only remaining territory which is under control of Ukrainian forces at this moment is the territory of this factory, where at this very moment many representatives of Azov battalion, military, police and other military representatives are hiding. Russia has been constantly bombing and shooting this factory, which made it extremely hard for those people who still live there. Most people are injured, they don't have access to enough food and they cannot sleep properly. But thankfully earlier this week it was reported that all the civilians were able to escape the factory. And so, like mentioned previously, it is now the new goal of Ukraine to rescue the remaining people. For the very first time since the beginning of this war, the ministers of defense of Russia and America, Sergei Shoigu and Lloyd Austin, had direct negotiations. Lloyd Austin was urging Sergei Shoigu to cease fire as soon as possible. And he was also mentioning that it is extremely important for Russia to stay in touch with the rest of the world, especially with America. Today, Vladimir Zelensky did an interview with one of Italian TV channels, and here are his main statements. First of all, he was talking about the peaceful talks between Russia and Ukraine, and he said that one of the main things that is being discussed at this very moment is that Russia will need to move back to territories which they occupied before February 24th. The next thing Zelensky mentioned is that he is ready to meet with Putin face to face. The third statement by the president was that the time for peaceful and friendly talks with Russia are over, but Ukraine will do its best to keep the talks productive. And the last thing he was talking about is that the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, was asking Zelensky to give up some territories of Ukraine just for the sake to end the war. And the response of Zelensky was pretty obvious, is that Ukraine will never give up any of its territories, especially the region of Donbass, which is Donetsk and Lugansk. The Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, was speaking with the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, today, and here are the main things that they were discussing. First of all, Olaf Scholz was urging Putin to cease fire as soon as possible. The second thing that Olaf mentioned is that this idea about Ukrainian Nazis is just nonsense. And the last thing that they were speaking was that Olaf Scholz was blaming Russia for this global food crisis. Thank you so much for your attention, check the link in the description, stay safe and see you on Monday.